Michaud and Casey. A couple things for the parties. Have had an opportunity to get through the file. I don't presume to have memorized it, but studied it, fairly familiar with it. And some of the issues that you had in the past. The other thing is you got 45 minutes, and I do have another hearing at 9:15, so hopefully we get done by then, but we'll have to stop at that time. If not, and you're Ms. Jacobs?
Yes, Your Honor.
Your motion, right?
Yes.
I'm ready to proceed.
Okay. Would Your Honor like a brief opening, or should we just go straight into testimony?
I think opening would be helpful to give me a perspective on what you're going to be asking me to do.
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, this morning we are here on Respondent's second amended motion for contempt, enforcement, and clarification. A supplemental final judgment was entered in June of 2013, which severely limited Ms. Casey's contact with her daughter. She is currently entitled under the order to 12 hours per month, 6 hours on 2 consecutive days of supervised time sharing. In addition, she is also entitled to Skype and or telephone contact with her daughter at 7 to 7:30, 3 nights a week. I believe it's Monday, Wednesday, Saturday. That's under the order. We are here today because we believe the testimony will show that Mr. Michaud has been frustrating that contact, not allowing, certainly not making it easy, and in some cases completely refusing to allow Ms. Casey to have that contact. And so we are asking the court to enforce the order, remind Mr. Michaud that with parental responsibility comes that responsibility to encourage a relationship between his daughter and her mother, to find Mr. Michaud in contempt, and allow Ms. Casey makeup time. And finally, we are specifically asking for clarification. One of the issues that we believe testimony will show is that there seems to be some confusion as to what the priority is between extracurricular activities and contact with mother. And we are asking the court to clarify for the parties involved what is the priority in this child's life. So that is what we are here today in regards to. Thank you.
Would you like to do an opening?
I think I'll waive my opening, Judge.
Right. You may proceed with evidence.
Thank you. At this time, I would call Mr. Michaud.
Mr. Michaud, I'll take the witness stand and I'll swear you in. Raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm the testimony you give me the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
All right, have a seat.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, would you like me to stand while questioning? Thank you. Mr. Michaud, we had a hearing in this courthouse on December 21st of 2015. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And the outcome of that hearing ultimately was that the judge ordered that the final judgment, the supplemental final judgment that was in place should be followed.
Judge, I'd object to the question asking to comment on the order. The court's order is entered in the court record, and it's very clear. The court can clearly interpret what the order says themselves.
Objection overruled.
You can
I
answer
mean,
that.
true. I need to interpret the order, no question about that. But what he thinks it says in his efforts to comply are relevant. Objection overruled. You may answer the question.
So I want to make sure you're asking me that's what the order says entirely?
No.
Or that's just bits and pieces of it?
Did the judge order that the parties follow the supplemental final judgment that was in place?
Yes, that was part of it.
Okay. And part of that supplemental final judgment is a parenting plan, is that correct?
There is.
And that parenting plan includes time sharing arrangements for Ms. Casey to see your daughter?
It does.
Okay. And it also has provisions regarding phone and Skype communications, is that right?
Yes.
And that communication, the phone and Skype communication, is supposed to occur Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday between 7 and 7:30, is that correct?
Yes.
And that same evening of the hearing, Ms. Casey attempted to FaceTime with your daughter, is that correct?
I have no idea about that.
Would it refresh your recollection to review text messages?
Sure.
May I approach the witness?
You may.
Have you reviewed that document?
I have.
Does it refresh your recollection with regards to FaceTime contact?
So what's the question?
Do you recall whether on the same date of the hearing, Ms. Casey attempted to have FaceTime contact with her daughter?
I have no idea.
Okay. Since that hearing on December 21st, has Ms. Casey attempted to have FaceTime contact?
I specifically don't know that.
You don't know whether Ms. Casey has ever attempted to have FaceTime contact since December 21st?
No, I don't look at the FaceTime.
Have you ever specifically told Ms. Casey that there will be no FaceTime?
Yes.
And so since the hearing on December 21st, you have not allowed any FaceTime contact, is that correct?
That would be correct.
And do you recall Christmas Eve?
Specifically what?
Well, do you recall Christmas Eve? Do you recall
I
that
recall
day?
there was a Christmas Eve.
Okay. And do you recall telling Ms. Casey that you were not going to be available to do the 7 o'clock phone call and needed to do it earlier?
What day of the week was that?
It was Christmas Eve, so regardless of the
sound
holiday.
Let me ask you, what year?
This year, I'm sorry, 2015,
Thank you.
that just passed, since the last hearing.
Christmas Eve is a holiday?
What's your question?
My question was, do you recall saying that you would not be available on that day to make the phone call at the 7 o'clock time frame?
That's a Thursday, correct?
Yes.
She doesn't have calls on Thursdays.
Would it refresh your recollection to review text messages from that day?
Absolutely.
Have you reviewed the text messages?
I have.
And were you the one who contacted Ms. Casey saying that you were not available for the call that night?
Yes, unfortunately, I was mistaken. It was Christmas week. I lost track of time. Thought it was the Wednesday, not the Thursday. Made a mistake. I believe she got a call anyways that day. So, but your specific question was, did I contact her about FaceTime? I did not.
No, I asked whether you contacted her saying that you wouldn't be able to do a call that evening at the 7 o'clock time frame.
Correct. Unfortunately, I was mistaken on the day. I lost track of time during holiday week.
And on December 28th, which I believe is a Monday, do you recall not, well, I'm sure you don't recall December 28th. May I refresh your recollection with text messages from that day?
You may.
You refreshed your recollection.
In regards to what?
To the text messages from that day.
When I see them?
Okay. Do you recall whether there was any phone contact of any kind between Ms. Casey and your daughter that day?
I don't believe Miss Casey ever called me that day.
But Ms. Casey did text you that day saying, I'm trying to reach Riley, is that correct?
I see it. I don't know how she tried to reach Riley. Her and Riley don't text. They actually get on the phone and speak. So all she had to do was call, and my phone rang. We would have answered. So I'm a little confused of what you're asking me. She never made a phone call, but I don't know how to have contact with Miss Casey and Riley if she doesn't call.
Now, Ms. Casey never actually calls you, correct? She always texts you and then you have Riley call her?
That's 100% false.
And so are you So these text messages that she sent you that day, you didn't respond to any of them, is that right?
It's more than likely, I don't have my phone on me 100% of the time. The text messages probably don't have a ring, a phone call does. So if she would have called, it would have been easy to answer the phone. I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
What type of phone do you use?
A Samsung S5.
Okay. So you don't have FaceTime on your phone?
No.
Okay. Okay. Going to refresh your recollection as to text messages on March 12th. You can review those. Did you contact Miss Casey that day, telling her that Riley wouldn't be available for her 7 o'clock phone call?
Correct.
And what time did you contact her in regards to that?
Looks like 4:51.
And so approximately 2 hours before her call was supposed to be, you contacted Miss Casey to say that time would not work, is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. And the reason for that was that you were going to take Riley to the movies?
Yeah, Riley had asked me if she could go to see a movie.
Okay. And so when Miss Casey asked what time would work instead, were you on your way to the movies at that point?
I don't recall, but since it says that the movie was at 7, I don't think it takes me 2 hours to get there.
Well, it doesn't say the movie was at 7, it says you wouldn't be available at 7.
I don't know if I was on the way to the movie, honestly.
Okay, but you told her that your availability was for Riley to talk to her right then and there, is that right?
Well, that shows that there was an availability to talk now if she had an option.
Okay. And if she wasn't available then, would Riley have been available at the prescribed time at 7?
I don't really know how to answer an if-then statement. If it would have happened, I don't know. So we would have made the call work with Amy and Riley, just like we have in the past.
What was that date again?
That was March 12th. Now, do you recall when Miss Casey contacted you to begin scheduling March visitation?
I don't remember specifically.
Okay. Going to provide you with some documentation to refresh your recollection.
Thank you.
Ms. Casey texted you on February 26th to try and schedule time sharing for March 26th and March 27th. Is that correct?
That looks correct.
Okay. And did you respond at that time?
I don't know. It's the only thing that shows.
Now, on March 4th, approximately 6 days later, you emailed Ms. Casey saying that the March 26th date would not work. Is that correct?
Is that here?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe it is at the bottom of page 3.
Correct. I told her that weekend wouldn't work. That day.
Okay.
Actually, it's the weekend. So
And what was the reason that March 26th wasn't going to work?
that we had plans.
What were those plans?
The plans was Riley was attempting to qualify for the middle school state championships in track and field. And that was an event there that she could get a fully automatic time.
And in fact, you didn't enter Riley into that Trailblazers Invitational meet until March 18th. Isn't that correct? The documentation is,
Is it?
isn't it? so did you receive an email after you submitted the entry for Riley?
Yeah, it's attached right there, you just gave it to me.
Okay, and that email was dated March 18th, 2016?
Your Honor, at this point, I would object to the witness being asked to testify about documents not in evidence. We haven't agreed to the authenticity of any of these.
Sustained, if you rephrase your question,
Yes.
rather than having published the document.
How did you enter Riley into the Trailblazers Invitational Meet?
You go to a website,
And what do you do at that website?
enter the athlete,
And then you pay for it as well, correct?
that is correct.
Okay, and then you get an email saying that you've done so? Some kind of confirmation?
Something like that, yes.
Okay. And did you receive an email confirmation for your entry of Riley into the Trailblazers Invitational Meet?
I have to say, I'm guessing at this point, that would make sense that you do. But
Did you?
I don't show that it's here, but you may just have you have an account, and it just shows you that you're registered. You get other various emails throughout, just updating the track meet, or just saying, I'm sorry.
I would ask you to look at the 5th and 6th pages of the packet that you have.
Okay.
Do you recognize those documents?
Yes.
Can you tell me what they are?
There appears to be an entry for Riley and the Trailblazers Invitational.
Okay, and that entry, is this a document that you provided in discovery to my office?
Yes.
And it was specifically in regard to the registration of Riley into the Trailblazers Invitational Meet dated, the meet being on March 26th, is that correct?
Say it one more time.
The response to discovery was specifically in regard to entry of Riley into a meet on the date of March 26th,
This is a revision of the entry.
okay? So were there documents that were not provided to my office in the discovery request?
I couldn't find any other documents.
So this document is the only document you have with regard to entering Riley into the Trailblazers Invitational Meet on March 26th.
Yeah, I believe this is all I can find.
At this time, Your Honor, I would move to introduce the registration for the Trailblazers Invitational Meet into evidence.
Any objection?
I'm not sure what class was used for. No objection.
We received.
Yeah.
It's a weird desk here.
This is going to be a composite one.
Are you're the respondent?
Respondent, yes.
Respondent one?
And you agree that that document states, it is dated March 18th, is that correct?
Do I agree that the document is dated March 18th?
The document that shows that you entered Riley into this invitational has a date on it in numerous places of March 18th, is that correct?
It's like a multi-tiered question. They don't necessarily go together. I do agree that it is a document that states Riley's registration in the Trailblazers Invitational. However, it doesn't reflect that Riley was entered on March 18th. That's not what it reflects.
Okay. And the second page, the very bottom, shows entry status, time now, March 18th, 2016, 8:11, 12 a.m. And it says your online registration is complete.
Correct. And right above that, it shows that I paid on March 5th.
Okay, so you're testifying today that you actually entered her in on March 5th, is that correct?
I'm testifying that it shows that I paid on March 5th.
So to your recollection, is that the date that you entered her into this invitational?
I don't recall because you don't have to pay and enter at the same time. You can enter and then pay at a later date through that website.
Okay. And ultimately, did you and Ms. Casey agree that she would go forward with her visitation that weekend anyway, March 26th and 27th?
Yes, after the meeting.
Okay. And that Riley was going to participate in this meet in Tampa, is that correct?
That is correct.
And that you believed she would be back sometime around 4 for Ms. Casey to start her time sharing.
I don't specifically recall that conversation. If you have something to recollect, Mike.
I believe it is the last page of your packet.
Great. This larger one?
Yes.
That is correct.
And ultimately, do you recall what time Riley got home from the meet on March 26th?
Somewhere between like 5:30 and 6.
And did Miss Casey get any time sharing on the 26th?
No, she canceled it.
And how much time sharing did she have on the 27th?
I don't recall.
Next, there was discussion regarding an April visit. Is that correct?
Most likely.
Okay. And I will do a packet to help to refresh your recollection. Now, regarding the April visit, and just for your benefit, the emails obviously go backwards. On March 8th, Ms. Riley contacted you stating that she wanted to have time sharing on April 16th and 17th. Is that correct?
No,
She did not?
she did not.
Okay. When do you believe she contacted you?
Ms. Riley never contacted me at all.
I'm sorry. Ms. Casey contacted you regarding time sharing with Riley on April 16th and 17th, and she contacted you regarding that on March 8th. Is that correct?
Is that here?
It is, if you would like to review it.
That looks right.
And in the month of April, Riley had a soccer event of some sort every single weekend, isn't that right?
No.
She did not. What weekend did she not have an event? In April.
I don't recall specifically, but she didn't have one every weekend.
I would ask you to turn to the last page of your packet and refresh your recollection.
It shows that she didn't have one the week of the 16th and 17th.
That's correct. However, didn't you tell Ms. Casey that your daughter would not be available the weekend of the 16th and 17th because she had a soccer event?
I believe I told her she wouldn't be available on the specific day during those times, that she would have had a soccer game.
Okay. So, but according to Riley's schedule, she had a soccer game every weekend in April, correct? Except for possibly the 16th and 17th of April?
That sounds correct.
Okay, and so the one weekend that she ultimately didn't have a game was the weekend Miss Casey was asking for.
Right, and she got her visitation.
But initially you told her that there was a game and that Riley would not be available for visitation that weekend, isn't that right?
I told her I did not want Riley to miss the game.
Okay, and that therefore she would not be able to have visitation.
She would have to do visitation around Riley's game.
Okay. And ultimately, that game ended up getting canceled, which is why the schedule doesn't show a game that weekend, is that right?
That's not true.
It's not true that that game got canceled? So there was no game that weekend?
It's no, so, no, she did not have a game that weekend.
Then why was there a discussion between you and Miss Casey regarding Riley not being able to participate in time sharing while she had a game?
Say that one more time.
I'm going to move on. Did Miss Casey contact you regarding May visitation?
She did.
And Miss Casey contacted you on April 14th, stating that she had previously requested the 21st and 22nd of May, but was asking to change that to May 14th and 15th. Is that right?
That is correct. I had.
And you responded saying that you couldn't switch the dates for her, and May 14th and 15th were not available.
That is correct.
Why were they not available?
Because Riley was running at another track meet in order to try to qualify for the middle school state championships. Unfortunately, she didn't qualify the first time around.
And you didn't actually enter Riley into that middle school championship until April 24th, isn't that right? It's-
Okay. We're still going whether I entered her or not.
So even though Ms. Casey had explained to you that she would be unavailable to do May 21st and 22nd and was requesting a change in the schedule, and at the time she was requesting that change, was Riley scheduled to do anything?
Define schedule.
Had she been entered and paid for in any events?
No, but we were still going to the event. Whether I signed up 3 weeks before, 3 weeks after, it was the only event left she could qualify in.
And so ultimately you decided that her qualifying for this event was more important than time with her mother.
No, I had already made an arrangement with Amy to have a weekend.
And Ms. Casey advised you more than 30 days in advance that she would not be available for that weekend and requested that you work out a different time with her, is that right?
And I could not.
I would ask you to look at the third page of the packet that it, yes. Can you tell me what that document is?
This is we're talking, I'm gonna show it to you so I make sure. This looks like this shows to be a document of a receipt of payment for the Florida Middle School State Championship.
Okay. And what is the date of that document?
April, with the date, April 24th.
At this time, I would seek to introduce the email showing payment received for the Florida Middle School State Championship.
Any objection?
As respondents to.
Will be received as response to. Thank you.
On June 18th, did Ms. Casey contact you regarding her phone contact with Riley It's on the second page.
Okay, we're in June now.
Yes, June 18th.
Is that in your motion?
No, it is not. The motion was filed prior to that.
I'm looking at the motion so I can track along and I didn't see it. All right, continue.
Did Ms. Casey contact you regarding her phone contact with Riley?
I don't recall.
Okay. Does it refresh your recollection to review the documents I handed you?
It does not.
So the documents you're looking at do not assist you in any way?
No, they don't have any dates on it whatsoever.
Give me 1 second. And provide you with documents with dates on them. Does that refresh your recollection with regard to June 18th?
That does.
And did Ms. Casey contact you on that day regarding her phone contact with Riley?
It does.
And she stated to you that she was trying to get in touch with Riley?
Yes.
And what was your response to her?
It looked like she was probably eating dessert and she was going to call afterwards.
And what time was that?
7:06.
And what time did you ultimately have Riley call her mother?
I don't know, it doesn't say on here.
Do you believe it was within the 30-minute time frame ordered in the supplemental final judgment?
It doesn't appear to be.
Okay. In fact, there's a text message from Ms. Casey at 8:09 p.m. saying still trying to get in touch with her?
Correct.
And so you still had not had Riley call her mother at that point?
Apparently not.
Did you help Riley send her mother a Mother's Day card?
Objection holds. It's also not raising the motion.
Your Honor, the final judgment requires Mr. Michaud to encourage the daughter to send written communications to the mother.
I would again say that it's not in the motion, Judge. Procedurally and substantively, we're denied our due process rights if it's raising things outside the motion.
I'm not going to look at it as a potential additional violation, but part of the motion deals with the contempt claim and the attitude and the parties, et cetera, may be relevant. So for that limited purpose, I will allow it, not for a separate alleged violation, however.
Did you encourage or assist your daughter in sending a Mother's Day card to her mother?
Riley and I did discuss making a card. Honestly, I thought she made one. I thought they had a visit around Mother's Day.
Well, they didn't have a May visit, isn't that right?
Okay. That's right. And so maybe that's why she didn't get it, because she did make one.
Did you offer to mail it out for her?
I think the discussion was that she wanted to give it to her.
Did you assist or encourage Riley to contact her sister for her birthday, her sister's birthday?
I don't know when her sister's birthday is.
But Ms. Casey contacted you asking to allow some contact between Riley and her sister Ryan for Ryan's birthday, didn't she?
I don't recall that specifically.
You are gonna leave give Mr. Peters a little bit of.
I have no further questions for this witness.
Cross?
How old is Riley?
Should be 13 on Friday,
And what grade is she just completed in school?
7.
There's been some conversation about her extracurricular activities. What extracurricular activities does she participate in?
She participates in soccer and track and field, actually just track.
What type of soccer program is she involved in?
She is in a competitive soccer team.
And what type of time requirements is that required in order to participate in that team?
It takes 2 practices a week, after school, late at night. She practices during the week with me, and there's games on the weekend.
And what time period during the year does Riley participate in her soccer activities?
August through May.
And there are published schedules for those activities?
There are.
Have you provided copies of those schedules to your former wife?
When I get them, I do.
You mentioned track and field. What type of track and field activities does Riley participate in?
She participates in the 800 meter, the 1500 meter, the 3000 meters.
I probably asked that question badly. Let me see if I can do a better job. What the track and field events are part of what? What type of program are they part of?
Well, during the school year in the spring, it is a part of her middle school. They have training before school and meets after school. And then in order to qualify for any other event, you have to do races outside of the middle school because they don't use fully automatic timed events. They're all hand stopwatches, and they don't count for qualifying for any larger events.
These events that have been the subject of some of our conversation this morning, how far in advance are they known to you that they're going to be conducted?
I only found out about the other events sometime in March when I asked the coach at the school, what about the middle school state championships? Because I had another parent tell me about it. I didn't realize it wasn't part of the actual school curriculum. And then some of them you can't get into. For instance, where I paid on April 24th and I entered into an event, I couldn't even enter into the event until that day because she didn't have a qualifying time until April 23rd. So she qualified on April 23rd. I entered her the next day and paid it. It was the earliest option for me to actually enter into the middle school state championships. So if you don't have a qualifying time, they could be your entry.
Did she eventually qualify for this or not?
She did.
Have you informed your former wife of when these track and field events are occurring? When you had these email conversations with her, was she made aware of the track and field events?
Well, she knew about the Trailblazers. She was actually in town that weekend and refused to go.
Did you invite her to go?
Absolutely.
What was her response?
Paraphrased, I'm not really interested in that.
Let's talk about there was mention of the parenting plan that was part of the June 19 order. Whose parenting plan was that? The one that was adopted by the court?
What do you mean?
Well, the court in its order on June 19 said it was adopting your parenting plan.
Okay.
Was the parenting plan adopted by the court one that you and your attorney at the time had drafted?
Yes.
It refers in the parenting plan, let's see if I can get the right page real quick. On page 15, paragraph LLL, it uses the language telephone and/or Skype communication with the minor child. Was there a time period where your former wife was engaging in some sort of electronic, I want to say FaceTime or Skype communication with your daughter?
There was.
When was that? When did that last occur?
Sometime in June of 15.
There's a court order entered in this case on August 10th of 2015, where the motion to reinstate FaceTime privileges with the minor child was denied. Were you aware of that order?
Yes.
You're familiar that the court has already addressed the issue of Skype or FaceTime and denied it being reinstated?
That is correct.
And you were aware of that order being in place in the December through present. Is that correct?
Correct.
What type of telephone communication does your former wife have with Riley?
She has calls several times a week.
By several, how often does it occur? I mean, we talk about 2 or 3 times? 3. And are they on specific days?
They are. During the year of Riley's soccer, Amy has been nice enough to change the days to assist with Riley not being pulled out of her soccer practice.
And how long do these telephone communications 3 times a week generally last?
A few minutes.
From December 15th, which is the last time we were here on one of your former wife's motions until now, how many days of telephone communication with your child has she missed?
I believe 1 when she didn't call.
Okay. So from December 15th to the present, there has been 1 day of missed telephone communication between Riley and your former wife to the best of your knowledge?
I believe so.
The supervised visitation, the day of the track meet, what time did you and Riley get home from the track meet on that? I think it was the 26th.
Whatever the Saturday was.
Right.
I would say around 5:30ish to 6.
Did you communicate with your former wife that Riley was back in Brevard County available to spend time with her?
I actually, when I received the text message from her, it was out of the blue saying, I'm canceling the visitation right now. I believe at that point, Riley was actually on the track running or warming up, so I'm not paying attention to my phone. I texted her back around 3:20 going, we're literally getting in the car right now. I don't know why you would cancel it. It doesn't make any sense. She then had a call with Riley that night at the normal time, and Riley again told her, I don't know why you canceled. We've been home.
Okay. What time did you all get home from the track?
5:30, 6 o'clock.
Was Riley available to meet with her mother for supervised visitation on that evening?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't even get to finish the track meet, and she had friends running. We left before we got to watch them run.
There was some discussion or some irony to this about a demand for FaceTime on December 15th of last year, which was the day we had a hearing. Do you remember that earlier conversation?
I think it was the 21st.
Okay, the 21st. My dates are bad. After we left court, did you make arrangements for your daughter and your former wife to meet?
They did. They did. They had lunch together.
And so the same day that they're complaining about no FaceTime, despite there not being any court order in place requiring you to do so, you set up a time for your former wife to meet with Riley and you supervised that visitation.
Correct.
When's the last time supervised visitation took place?
June?
Is there one scheduled for July?
Yes.
When is that supposed to take place?
June 29th, 30th, whatever that weekend specifically is.
Other than the scheduling difficulties that you've had in May, since the last time we were in court in December of 2015, has your former wife had all of her supervised visitation?
Other than the one she's canceled. Well, I mean, I want to be clear on the May one. She canceled it because, according to her email, her friend was graduating and she could no longer do the date she had reserved. That is why she canceled the May 21st and 22nd date. It wasn't because of anything grandiose. I'm sorry, I have her friend that's graduating.
She's going to testify. So, the May dates that were originally set up, was Riley available on those days if your former wife had decided she was going to exercise supervised visitation?
Yeah, it set aside the May 21st and 22nd for her.
I don't have any other questions at this time. They're subject to the witness being recalled in that case.
Reader?
You mentioned that on, I believe it's March 26th, Riley got home sometime between 5:30 and 6 p.m., is that right?
Yes.
And it sounds like you're saying that time sharing still could have occurred on that day.
Correct.
And what time would you propose that Ms. Casey spend her 6 hours with Riley when it would have begun around 6 p.m.?
Well, I don't believe she had any intention of the full time that night, and we had talked about that to be flexible with Riley's schedule. So, I mean, Riley is still up until 10 o'clock at night, so, I mean, having the visitation was really not gonna be that much of a challenge.
So, no matter what, Miss Casey was not going to get her full 12 hours that weekend.
I don't believe that to be true.
Well, you just said that she was gonna be flexible and didn't expect to get her full 6 hours that day. Were you giving her additional time the following day?
I believe she did get additional time the following day.
And how much time did she get on the following day?
I wanna say it was 8 hours.
And so ultimately, she got 8 hours of time that weekend, is that right?
Yes, because she canceled Saturday.
I have no further questions.
All right, you may return to your seat. I confirm my 9:15 hearing is here, so you all will need to go in for additional time.
All right.
I assume there's further evidence? If
There
not,
really isn't further evidence.
if you're ready to go to argument, I can stretch it that long, but if either side wants to present additional evidence, I don't want to keep you from doing that.
I need to consider that, Judge, so why don't we go ahead and reschedule the remainder of our time?
That'd be fine.
Your Honor, I would ask the court, considering the testimony today and without making a final decision regarding it, since Ms. Casey is present here in Florida, whether she could have some time sharing or at least see her daughter today.
I'm not going to halfway order, so. I mean, I wasn't involved in setting up the 45 minutes, y'all set it up. All right, thank y'all.
Thank you.